In the last video, we learned how the Treaty of Versailles caused a financial and morale crash in Germany, which was harnessed by Adolf Hitler during his rise to power as the Chancellor of Nazi Germany. He signed the Munich Agreement with Italy, France, and the UK, allowing him to annex part of Czechoslovakia as long as he didn't invade anywhere else. A year later, he violated the agreement and started World War II. In this video, we'll discover key events and battles that happened in Europe during the war and how they shaped the deadliest war in history, starting with the Nazi invasion of Poland.
Now we're here at the Museum of the Polish Army AK. It was established in 2000 to honor the Polish Home Army's contributions in resisting Nazi and Soviet occupation during World War II. It aims to tell the story of Polish struggle for independence through various artifacts, multimedia presentations, documents, weaponry, uniforms, and more.
Before World War II, Poland's military and political development lagged far behind that of Nazi Germany. After the death of Joseph Pilsudski in 1935, Polish military modernization stalled, so when Nazi Germany invaded, Poland's army was still largely equipped with World War I-era technology that was already outdated.
Their military techniques were also inadequate against Germany's advanced blitzkrieg tactics, which left Polish forces completely overwhelmed, allowing German forces to experience great success in their invasion. More strategic miscalculation and drawbacks included Poland's reliance on Britain through the Anglo-Polish Treaty to assist, when the UK did not intervene in time to support Poland. When discussing the invasion of Poland in 1939, it's important to remember the role of the Soviet Union. It was not just the Nazis invading. They had signed a non-aggression agreement with the Soviet Union called the Molotov-Ribbentrop Pact just a week before the invasion. Publicly, it was a declaration that both nations would refrain from attacking each other while supporting third parties that might. But secretly, it outlined the division of Eastern Europe, including Poland. The Soviet Union would be able to take control of Eastern Poland, while Germany would be allocated the West.
Now you might be wondering, wasn't the Soviet Union part of the Allies that were fighting against Hitler? And they were, but only after Nazi Germany violated the pact and invaded the Soviets from the West. Had they maintained their alliance, World War II would have turned out very differently. Today, the Soviet Union's conflicting role as a hero/persecutor is still being discussed. In Poland, on one hand, the Soviet Union invaded and perpetrated atrocities against the Polish people for several years. On the other hand, they were a key element of the liberation of Europe, with casualties from the Soviet Union among the top of the list at around 8 million military losses. This duality continues to fuel debates about historical memory and national identity in post-war Europe today, and is something that we hope you all will continue to think about. With Poland under Nazi control by early October 1939, Hitler's ambitions expanded. He sought to solidify Germany's dominance in Europe and to acquire Lebensraum, which means living space for the German people, by invading neighboring countries. On April 9, 1940, Germany launched Operation Weserübung, invading Denmark and Norway to secure strategic positions and resources. Denmark was swiftly occupied within 6 hours of the initial assault, while Norway resisted for 2 months before surrendering on June 9th. This operation demonstrated German military might and secured vital resources like iron, while also establishing a base for future operations against the UK and the Allied powers. Just a month later, Germany invaded Luxembourg on May 10, 1940, swiftly followed by Belgium and the Netherlands. By combining speed and surprise, coordinating air assaults, and encircling enemy troops, Nazi Germany occupied all 3 countries by June 22, 1940. While the rapid victories in Europe showcased Germany's military prowess, they also ushered in a dark chapter for the millions of civilians in the occupied countries. In Luxembourg, local culture and languages were suppressed in an effort to Germanize the country. In Belgium, food and fuel were tightly rationed, leading to widespread shortages. A black market emerged, causing prices to soar as high as 650% above legal rates. In the Netherlands, men aged 18 to 45 had to work in German factories, where they faced harsh conditions and were often targeted by Allied bombings. However, in these 3 countries, cooperation with the Nazis was out of necessity, not ideological alignment. Most of the population, including local officials, still harbored feelings of resentment against their occupiers. This, however, was not the case in France.
At the same time as Belgium, Luxembourg, and the Netherlands were invaded, Germany also launched a campaign against France. While Allied forces were drawn into Belgium to defend against what they believed was the main attack, the Germans executed their primary assault through the Ardennes Forest in an attempt to encircle and isolate Allied forces in Belgium and northern France. The French had heavily fortified their eastern border with the Maginot Line, expecting the attack to come directly from Germany. However, the line did not extend through the Ardennes, which was a crucial oversight as German forces swiftly crossed the Meuse River at Sedan on May 13th, breaking through French defenses.
The Sedan castle itself was not a primary focus during World War II, but the town played a bigger role. Sedan's location was strategically important to the Germans, as its fall would allow the Germans to pass the Maginot Line, France's main defense system. The Germans used the textbook blitzkrieg, and the Sedan fell without much resistance.
As British and French troops were surrounded by advancing German forces, they began evacuating from Dunkirk. Around 338,000 soldiers were evacuated. Following this, German forces continued their advance through France, capturing Paris on June 14th. This battle resulted in a catastrophic defeat for the Allies, with over 360,000 casualties among Allied forces, as opposed to only around 163,000 for the Germans.
An armistice was signed on June 22nd, which divided France into two zones: an occupied zone, which is controlled directly by German authorities and included Paris, and an unoccupied zone. This area, also known as the Free Zone, was mostly governed by the French under Marshal Philippe Pétain, who became the head of a new regime based in Vichy. Pétain's government sought to align itself closely with German interests by implementing policies that included collaboration in economic and military matters. There were several reasons for this collaboration, including ideological alignment, economic benefits, and a perception of German victory. However, while the Vichy government was cooperative, French people in the occupied zone were more resistant against their German occupiers, which brings us to the Eiffel Tower.
Now we're here at the iconic Eiffel Tower in southwestern Paris. The tower was once the tallest building in the world and one of the tallest in Europe, standing 330 meters and featuring 3 floors. In 1940, the French disabled the elevators in the tower to prevent Hitler from easily ascending it during his only visit to Paris during World War II. Despite this, the Nazis managed to plant their flag on the tower 2 times, as the first one was too large and blew away.
Let's take a look at Europe after the fall of France. Yugoslavia and Greece were invaded and occupied by Germany on April 6, 1940. Switzerland maintained strict neutrality, treating both sides equally. Hungary, Romania, and Bulgaria allied with Germany, hoping to regain lost territories. Italy, which had signed a pact with Germany in 1939, shared similar fascist ideals and was part of the Axis powers. Spain, although also fascist, had just gone through a civil war and was incredibly economically weak, and so maintained neutrality. Portugal engaged in trade with both the Allies and the Axis powers, but stayed neutral. The Baltic states, Lithuania, Latvia, and Estonia attempted to remain neutral, but were occupied first by the Soviet Union and then by Nazi Germany. This left the UK, which was supported by its empire, standing alone against Germany. However, Hitler was determined to dominate Europe and eventually the world, and so the Battle of Britain initiated on July 10, 1940.
Now we're at the Imperial War Museum Duxford with my friend Eva. The museum features over 300 pieces of aircraft.
It tells the story of aviation during World War II, which was crucial for the Battle of Britain.
The Battle of Britain can be summarized into 4 main phases. The first phase, known as the Channel Battles, started on July 10, 1940, and was focused on attacks against shipping and coastal defenses in the English Channel. This was followed by the Eagle attack, which commenced on August 13th, and was marked by large-scale assaults on RAF airfields and radar stations to gain air superiority. The third phase began on September 7, 1940, and was characterized by intensified bombing raids on London and other major cities. Finally, the Blitz initiated on October 3rd and involved sustained bombing campaigns against British urban centers, continuing until the end of the battle in late October. Although the Luftwaffe clearly outnumbered the RAF, the British had several advantages such as radar technology and the Dowding system for coordinating defenses, fighting over home territory, and superior aircraft including the Supermarine Spitfire.
Here at the museum, we can see a Supermarine Spitfire. This was a British single-seat fighter aircraft that entered service with the RAF in 1938.
It was renowned for its innovative design featuring a sleek wing, a retractable landing gear, and an all-metal, stress-skin aluminum structure.
These features contributed to maneuverability and speed, achieving air superiority over German fighters.
By mid-September, it was clear that the Luftwaffe couldn't defeat the RAF, so Hitler postponed Operation Sea Lion indefinitely. This battle was incredibly significant as it was Hitler's first major defeat in World War II and prevented a German invasion of Britain, allowing it to serve as a base for the eventual liberation of Europe. The resilience shown by the British people during the Blitz also boosted morale and strengthened their resolve, uniting their country.
Now we're at the Imperial War Museum London, which covers conflicts involving the UK from World War I to present day, in order to honor and memorialize the sacrifices of people from the UK and Commonwealth countries. However, today we'll just be focusing on the North African campaign.
The North African campaign spanned from June 10, 1940 to May 13, 1943. It began with Italy's declaration of war on Britain and France, and British forces were initially outnumbered by Italian troops. However, a counteroffensive known as Operation Compass in December of 1940 successfully captured thousands of Italian troops and equipment. In response to Italy's setbacks, Nazi Germany then dispatched the Afrika Korps, leading to a series of battles for control over Libya and Egypt. In the end, Axis forces surrendered in Tunisia in 1943, ending the North African campaign. This victory allowed the Allies to plan invasions into Italy and secured vital supply lines for Britain from Middle Eastern oil fields. It also highlights Britain's crucial role in coordinating Allied efforts against the Axis powers. The British victories at the start of World War II were vital to the overall outcome of the war. However, if it wasn't for one person, the UK might still be trying to appease Nazi Germany, and this man was Winston Churchill.
Now we're at the Churchill War Rooms. Prime Minister Winston Churchill came to power in May of 1940. Now we're at the Churchill War Rooms. Prime Minister Winston Churchill came to power in May of 1940, after which the UK adopted a more aggressive stance against the Axis powers. The war room served as the center of British military operations, similar to the Kremlin in our Moscow video, and Winston Churchill often worked from here.
Churchill's appointment became a crucial turning point in British strategy and attitude towards the war. He recognized the importance of the RAF and prioritized its claims over the Army and Navy, which was a huge help during the Battle of Britain. He also raised British morale with his understanding of the power of words, and his speeches strengthened British resolve, with one notable one being to the House of Commons on May 13th, where he warned of the hard road ahead, offered blood, toil, tears, and sweat, and committed the nation to all-out war until victory, refusing to compromise. He also played a key role in forming alliances with other powers, notably pursuing the US and Soviet Union to join the Allies. This succeeded, and the Grand Alliance was formed by mid-1941. This is a bathroom in the war rooms, which was actually a telephone room that allowed Churchill to have a direct telephone line with the US president. The Sigsaly top-secret telephone scrambler system was incredibly dangerous and expensive to ship to the UK, but it was done nevertheless, showing the cooperation and amity between the US and the UK. After Nazi Germany couldn't keep pushing west into the UK, they decided to invade the east. Operation Barbarossa, the largest invasion and perhaps one of the most famous military operations of all time, was the invasion of the Soviet Union from Nazi Germany on June 22, 1941. There were several reasons for this invasion, which broke the Molotov-Ribbentrop Pact signed in 1937, including ideological goals and strategic and economic considerations. A key objective was the permanent elimination of communism, which was viewed as a threat to Germany. Hitler was also concerned that the Soviets were gaining power while the German army's resources were being depleted in the West, and so Nazi propaganda portrayed the invasion as a preemptive strike, claiming that the Red Army was preparing to attack Germany. Additionally, regions like Ukraine, Belarus, and the Caucasus, which were under Soviet control, had lots of agricultural and mineral wealth and oil fields. This would help Germany secure the material strength needed to take on the UK and the US. Hitler thought that the Soviet Union was weak and that a quick victory would give Germany resources to win the war, but little did he know, this was only the start of a 4-year battle that would result in the surrender of the Axis powers. To learn more about World War II in Europe, including D-Day and battles in the Soviet Union, make sure to subscribe to see our next video.